You'll see, we'll go through it in detail, but that rendering already includes the changes that we've made to unify the height along the entire tower there, to basically bring it back more to that swoopy design that we had in the original project. The two things that we heard last time that were reflected in the set that we submitted, the aforementioned design of that roof line, and then the mechanical equipment, the mechanical penthouse, how we deal with it, how we hide it. As you recall, when we discussed last time, between the original approval and today, we've actually done the mechanical work. We figured out what actually needs to go on the roof, which necessitated the changes we made to the original design. But with the revision of that penthouse, revision of that corner, we're bringing back the architectural elements that the board wanted to see, that were present in the original approval, and now are reintroduced. So with that, let me, well, you know what, I'll introduce the rest of our team just in case they have to speak. Anna Caruso is going to speak from Arquitectonica. We also have Sarah Jimenez, Yvette Batista from Terra, William Balabin from Turnberry, with the two partners in MB Mixed Use Investment LLC, which is the tenant. And of course, my colleague, Emily Balter. And Maria Hernandez is here from the city, who's been working on the project. So with that, Ms. Caruso, if you could come up and take everyone through the revisions, and then we'll obviously open ourselves up for questions, rebuttal, etc.
Has anyone had any ex-parte communications that need to be disclosed at this time? No, thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Anna Caruso for Arquitectonica, 2900 Oak Avenue, Coconut Grove. What can we say? We listened. And so we had brought back a roof line that we actually do think, we agree with you that, it is an improvement. So you can see the 2019 approved roof line, which was a little bit of a different program altogether than what we presented last month in April, and then the proposed revision. Now, as you can see, what we did is that we have brought back like a continuity on the roof line, which I believe, your comment was that we had missed in the intermediate presentation. And what we did is that, in order to do that, we also had to kind of condense to keep the design consistent. We had to condense and bring back the volume at the corner to be above the roof line as per the original design. To achieve that, what we had done is that we have condensed. I don't know if I want to go in the nitty-gritty of the mechanical systems, but we had the spills that were hiding the mechanical equipment, and now we have condensed the tallest one in that corner. So the rest now can sit lower, more, in a more continuous way. And again, you can see the approved version, the one that we presented last month. We had those kind of peels to hide the equipment, and then the revised one, in which we had condensed all this tallest element into the northwest corner. I mean, just looking, northeast corner. I'm sorry. And you can see also on the May 7 layout. So this is the revised rendering, in which we show what, how we have achieved this design. Again, we do believe that it brought something back to the integrity of the design. So this was a good call. And so again, the height of the parapet is the minimum to hide, outside air units that are to provide the fresh air to the corridor. So we kept it at the minimum height that for which we can screen the equipment. And also to reestablish this roof, we have introduced also like a darker break, that Bernardo called the dark charcoal break, to kind of to highlight that taller volume. And we have, this is just a graphic issue which we are highlighting the horizontal band also on the sheet left, sheet right. Continuation on those balconies. Again, this is the north facade, in which it's just the same concept. Again, this is an enlargement of the roof plan, where we show how we have rearranged all the equipment. That's the taller roof. And this is the last rendering, in which we show how that basically, there is very little change on this facade, really, it's just the volume to the cooling tower to the bottom that pops up a little bit more, but that's it. Yes, we have another plan, a more large plan of that same, and a large elevation of that, what we discussed a little bit earlier. Also, last time you asked us to see where the hotel sign would sit, this is where it would sit. And then, again, that's an enlarged elevation, and that's it. You can go back and get the first slide.
Go back to the comparison.
Yes, this is it. So again, nothing else changed. Everything else stayed exactly the same as before. We just did modify the roof line as per your suggestions.
Thank you very much. Does that conclude the presentation?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? I see no one. Is anybody online? Oh, yes, please.
Good morning, all. Thank you for doing the job you do. I'm Roberto. I have to say it, if I say in Portuguese, you don't get it. Roberto Carneiro. I'm owner and resident at 1688 West, where West 17, and they joined Living Hell. That's another story. Concerning this project, I'm very grateful. It's beautiful. And I love development. I love money. This is all wonderful, but my question is, how tall is this? How many floors?
It's 17 floors.
17 floors.
And do you mean the building height from the ground to
To the roof.
including the mechanical?
Thank you.
Do you have that? figure?
Okay. I've been here 10 years. The reason I got out of 40 years in Marina del Rey, the county runs Marina del Rey, not the city. And they made a statement 15 years ago, so that it was a cash cow. They're gonna develop, and that was it. We tried to fight, we lost. I got out of there. Came here, I knew Miami Beach. Being a progressive, democratic, wonderful little town. And now I've seen it nothing but development. My question, sir, how many hotels are too many? How many floors are too many? If you stand on the west end of Miami Beach and you look at Miami, you start seeing Manhattan coming south. Are they trying to make Miami Beach another Manhattan? They're welcome to move there. So let's please keep a little profile here, a little limit of where we want to go. We want tourists, but in life, there are limits to everything before we destroy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments.
There is nobody with their hand raised online. If I can just provide a little bit more background regarding how we got to the height and room count. There was actually a referendum back in 2018 where the citizens of the beach voted on whether or not to approve an increase in height to allow an 800-room hotel at a height of 185 feet. So the plans here are consistent with what was approved by the voters back in 2018.
And does that 185 include now this structure
No,
around? That doesn't.
The 185, whenever we talk about the height of a building, it never includes any of the allowable encroachments on top of that, which in most cases can go up to 25 feet above that maximum height. There are some exceptions. For example, you'll see a project on Sunset Harbor today where the code is modified to lower the maximum height of those allowable height exceptions.
I just would like to add, please.
You know what? I'm sorry, but your time of the public section is already, everybody gets 2 minutes. But I think we very much understand what you're trying to say and what your comments are.
The building that you approved, alternate fit.
Yeah.
It's 6 floors, I believe.
You know what? That's something that goes beyond the purview of what we're talking about today. I very much understand where you're coming from. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. If there's no other members of the public wishing to speak, I'd like to close the public portion and open it up to the board for discussion. Who would like to begin? Or Laura, were you here for the original one, or do you need to be kept up to speed?
I was here for the last one, so for the interim meeting, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I recall what we.
okay, good. I meant to say that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry, if I can just provide an update, regarding Shauna Meyer. I'm sorry, I misspoke. She had notified us that, she was not gonna be in attendance at today's meeting. So we do only have, just for the public's knowledge, we have 5 members present. So any application that includes variances requires 5 affirmative votes. For applications without variances, only 4 affirmative votes are required to pass the application.
Okay, so who would like to begin?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I love the design now. I think that I think our main concern, of course, was the north tower and screening the mechanical work. And I think that this is consistent with what was initially approved, and albeit I wasn't there for that, but I think it looks great. So thank you for taking that into consideration. The one thing I'm not sure that was addressed, which is a small thing, I think, Sarah, you had comments about the sign for the Hohauser building, about the text.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not sure if that was changed, but.
Yeah, actually, the team had been, I think that was something that we were gonna discuss at a different meeting, and the team had been in touch with me, and then I forwarded it to Debbie Tackett for because it seemed like it was more historic, but so she's taking care of it, and it was something that we're gonna deal with at another bidding, or I don't even know if it'll come
That
up.
probably is something that can be approved administratively.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, anyway, so thank you for asking, and I apologize, I should have disclosed that I've been in conversation with them. But it has no bearing on the design that we're looking at today.
Yeah, in terms of the design, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, there was also a comment, I'm looking at the minutes, variances from the ground floor setback requirements along Convention Center Drive. I don't know if you addressed those in your presentation.
Well, Myra, those variances were approved at the last meeting.
Okay, so
So we were, yeah, our remit between then and now was to deal with this.
the roof, okay. I am in agreement. I think that the design of the roof or the changes you made to that are very much in line with the area, and they're very beautiful. So congratulations. I think you, Bernardo and team did a great job.
I have to say, I disagree. I mean, I don't understand you know what, I think at least the comments that I had, it was more about, well, certainly the roof stuff, the roof element that you added seemed very clunky, but it was also, we talked a lot about the spirit and the element of this corner, and that it is very sort of light and elegant. And by adding, I think part of it is the cutout that you have, I'm looking, from the 2019 approved one to the one that you showed us April 2nd, and it looks like this corner detail is that you didn't make any changes to the corner. But the shape of the cutout of the balcony is very different, and that's something that was really elegant and beautiful. And then this column here, just sort of, I think it seems awkward, and it goes against, I think, the spirit of the design. I mean, your architects, your design people, that, when you have a subtle detail, a subtle change makes a really big difference. And although the change here is, well, I can't even say it's subtle, because this column here is sort of interrupting that. And here was this one, this is a pretty, basic shaped building, and you have these few design elements. You have that dimple in the center, which is nice, and it was, sort of offset by this corner feature with the balconies. And that's what you changed, and that's what I was hoping you would change back, because now the new one, which, yeah, it does a more complete job of covering up all the mechanicals, which I think is a good thing to have the mechanicals covered. It still doesn't express the spirit of the original approved design. If anything, you've made it heavier.
I was gonna add, why can you not just do a facade that stays with the same line that you created in the first place? Like, even if there's nothing there, you could extend the horizontal structure to kind of hide the column a bit and keep with the same silhouette of the building as you had in the first approved design. I think the corner just looks like it's been chopped off, like.
Yeah, I think that there was something really elegant about the corner. It was almost like it was soaring. I don't know if you want to bring up the comparison again. You know, that was one of the few really pretty design elements, and it was lovely because it was the top of this tall building, and that's been completely eliminated, and now it's just very sort of heavy, and then there's this column that really doesn't have anything to do with anything. You know, at least the balcony cutout, there's a relationship between that and the dimple in the middle. And now you've lost that. And so the design elements that are left, they don't really have a relationship with each other. It was, I don't, so I'm surprised it was that corner I'm surprised that stayed, because I was hoping that that's what you guys would work in conversation with this roof line cover thing, which all you've done is extend it. So,
Well, you know, I mean, we extended it and we did a lot of the work actually from, you know, the system point of view. As you know, we already have a foundation permit. We're ready to start. And then, so for us was quite a feat to make that happen in like 20 days, you know, so that we could represent it. But so what happened is that we did try again to make this happen. However, what happens is that when we eliminate, so this column, we have it in every dimple. What happened is that during these years, so when we remove the column, we have a transfer condition. The transfer condition creates a very much of a thickened slab. And what happened is that because every single floor of the hotel is 9 feet, which is actually, once we put finishes, is below the hotel standards. We fought also with the flag to be on board with us because we have the height limitation by the referendum. So we have been playing with this puzzle for years. And when we tried again last week, 3 weeks ago, we tried again to make that happen. We met with structural engineer, with Bernardo and everything. There was just no way to make this happen without taking heights from the guest rooms. And we can't do that. Again, we tried again. We did go through the process again, and as you can see, we have that column in every single dimple. Now, one thing that the structural engineer wanted to do, and we fought not to do, is that he wanted to basically to attach the slab to the column, and it was actually like kind of an ugly design. So it took a lot of work also for it to be expressed this way. Also, the column maybe doesn't show here, but it will have a metal cladding on it. So that even though it's there, we count on the fact that we wanted to play with disappearing, like when we do like this glass, like this mirror cladded columns, which, yes, they are there, we're not kidding anybody, but we do play with the fact that we make them a little bit lighter, and that's probably not really evident in this rendering.
you'd mentioned that there's a column in the dimple. That's not something that is evident in the drawings that is there a better?
I'm sorry, not the east facade dimple, that is only a play with the balconies. If we go on just on the cover page of the presentation.
And this column, it's one of the columns that you can see, and I guess the base, or the top of the base, it extends all the way up.
This is it. We have exactly the same condition.
see.
And as you can see, because of the angle of the view, so we wanted to replicate exactly the same view that we had in the previous, so that is not the most flattering for that corner, unfortunately. But we have exactly the same geometry. Just so we have exactly the same geometry in terms of sloping of the building that we had 6 years ago and 5 years ago when we got approved. 8 inches offset at each floor, it stays exactly the same. And that column that is there is exactly the same geometry we have in the other corner. The geometry, is it a little bit not as elegant as it was before, but we had a problem with the room counts, with the guest room counts. Again, by referendum, we owe 800 rooms. We are tied with the base. We are set with the base of the columns, and we just couldn't do anything to this corner allows us to have an additional suite on every floor that has these dimples. And there was again from the flag, from the hotel flag was a non-negotiable.
When I spoke earlier, I like very much what you did on the rooftop and how that was changed with just adding some continuity with the band. The previous design without the pole was nice. This one is nice as well. And I think at the last meeting, you also expressed the problem with the structural difficulties and challenges that you were having. That being said, I can understand that a building for me has to be beautiful on the outside, but it also has to be beautiful on the inside. And for a guest at these major conventions that we need to continue getting and receive in the future, the last thing you want to do is walk into a room where the ceiling basically tops your hair. At the same time, a suite and the number of rooms are extremely important for the operations of the convention center. So if I have to be given a choice of eliminating height of the rooms, of eliminating the number of rooms, which we can't because we are held to 800 by referendum, and that number was not picked up from the sky. It was dealt with basically the history of conventions that we receive and based on the number of hotel rooms that they occupy. I think I have to, and the number of suites that some of these conventions require, and some conventions that have not come to Miami Beach because they don't have enough suites. So given the choices and the fact that structure is extremely important, I think, I would say that this, to me, is very much acceptable. Do I like the first design? Yes, absolutely. But if it can't happen, then it can't happen.
And also on the first design, we had a bar on the rooftop. But again, because we didn't have enough rooms.
I'm just curious
Yeah.
though, why can you not extend the balconies and have the column pierce the balconies so that the balconies of those top two floors still have the same curvature of the rest of it?
Because then the dimple will disappear, right? If we extend to hug the column, then the dimple is gone, if I'm understanding correctly.
You're saying incorporate the column into, so
Into
it looks
the,
like the
it
edge.
goes through the balcony.
Yeah,
But then the dimple disappears.
because how far back is the dimple from the column? It's just sort of hard to see.
I think it's like 1 or
It's-
2 feet.
I mean-
We play with the maximum cantilever that we could do, and also because of the slanting of the building, every single column is slanted.
Right, well, that's what I wonder, and I don't know if this is gonna be more controversial, but I wonder if, I think what you're trying to do is, I wonder if the solution is to just erase the dimple, the corner dimple completely, and just
We-
make it part of, did that look nice?
So
Because-
let me, so
Yeah.
again, a little bit of history, and I think Michael will remember.
Yeah,
When all these issues started to come along, our first option was, let's straighten the building. And we were told by staff, don't even try.
no, I mean, keep it,
And then,
the
and then
angle.
we tried to eliminate the dimples. Again, always to work the number of suites and and again, there was a big pushback about the dimples, and Maria here and can attest to
Yeah,
that.
no,
So
I-
That's weird because
Yeah,
that just
I
doesn't look like a dimple to me now. It looks like it's just been cut off.
Right, I think what they're saying though is that keep the weather wall where it is, but continue the balcony, so those upper floors will have larger balconies that follow the
Yeah.
balcony
Right.
line below.
The angle of the
So you'll still have-
silhouette
you'll
of the
still-
building.
Still see that the
Can
building.
you do that structurally?
or I guess what I was trying to say too is just move it,
I mean,
move the wall out. So, I mean, what I'm thinking, I don't think that it's successful doing what you're doing, and maybe the solution is to just eliminate the dimple entirely from this corner. Keep the angle. The angle is one of those,
So
This-
let's at the last page.
yeah, this is a good.
Yeah, the one that shows the one to the north view from the park. There you go, this one.
Right.
So we're
see how
clear.
that's- Right,
Once we do that, you will not have this, again, what we have been calling the dimple for several years.
I think we're talking about not this side, we're talking about.
No,
we're talking
this-
about-
But they all
Yeah,
have the
that's
same
what-
geometry. But they all have the same geometry.
I mean,
So you would have to
let-
change all of the dimples?
I mean, if we have to change one, of course we would.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I think I'm not expressing myself well. Let me ask you a question. With this picture, so this is showing this dimple on this tower. The dimple that you've added to the corner of, I guess it's the south tower,
Mhm.
it has the same,
Yes.
it's 3, because in the initial drawing of what was proposed, the dimple, the shape is very, very different. And I guess that's what I'm saying is you've changed it from the original concept, that this was the concept that we were told that, and again, we weren't on the board at the time, but this was the idea that was, approved and people liked. And the dimple structure in the center seemed a little bit different, which I think was fine. It works in the drawing. But then the dimple that you have here that you're showing in the revised one, it's not as gradual. It's just sort of more of a cutout. And what I'm saying is it's the gradual recession that made it really beautiful. And I see what you're doing for structural purposes. You're making the dimple, you're creating a dimple, you're making it a bit more shallow. And what I'm saying is that I think what that does in the corner of the south tower is that it takes away from the diagonal of the line of the building.
So, okay, so
So,
now we're.
so I'm wondering if, I'm wondering if you should just sort of square off the corner.
What is the location of this dimple here? Is that southeast,
That is northwest,
northwest?
northwest, that is the
It's-
convention.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Center.
okay.
So when we make the dimple more elongated, we
Mhm.
lose a bay.
Right, and you said too, for structural reasons, I guess what I'm saying is,
So
the compromised dimple isn't really expressing what I think the intent is, and maybe to lose it entirely, and to just,
If I can clarify, I think we're talking about the one on the east elevation,
Yes,
because I think that's the one
Yeah.
you're gonna see from further away.
yes.
yeah,
One-
we
yeah.
can go, not this one.
Not this one.
Yeah,
So Michael, we will just do it on one dimple?
Yes, yes.
do you wanna put up, I know on the presentation, it's page 5, is what I keep looking at. There's the comparison, or,
We lose the presidential suite.
well, I guess what I'm saying is,
No, yeah.
if you're moving the wall, instead of the wall being recessed, do you know what I'm trying to say?
You just wanna bring everything out to follow the angle of.
The angle of.
The angle
of
as
the-
it shows in the
Yeah.
2019
So
approved.
it's like,
This is where we have to go.
You can just pull the mic towards you, so if you're gonna speak.
So, you see, this is actually a complete bay for,
right, so I
12
guess what I'm
floors, yeah.
saying is, what if you just made it, like, took that away and just. I mean, because the revised thing that you come up with, it doesn't express the same intent.
I agree, I think it may be a cleaner design solution
It needs a,
than
yes.
having that more, having
So-
that cut off.
Do you understand
Right.
what they're
to
saying?
the shrubbery.
I think you can still keep the pole for structural reasons,
But you don't need to see the
but it
pole.
doesn't need to, it won't be as visible because the line of that, I'll call it the balcony or the building, will continue as it was in the 2019.
Well,
approval.
I think it's just the floor is underneath it, you don't see the pole. Can you
So I
bring
think
up,
what Sarah's saying, to bring the exterior wall of those rooms,
Mhm.
follow the angle of the floors below. So you would have
Yeah.
the same size balcony and have consistency all the way up through at this corner of the building. And then, of course, that column would then be within the building itself and it not be expressed on the exterior.
so we're saying that we're eliminating what we call the dimple.
Yes.
We continue with the shape of the building, just
Okay.
replicate it all the way up.
As it was in
Well,
2019.
no, it wouldn't be,
No,
it wouldn't
so-
be,
Different
Well,
than that.
It doesn't get cut off,
Correct.
causing a triangle, I think is what.
you're losing that, the
Continuity.
triangular,
Right.
you're losing the elegance, but it seems like there's not a choice. Yeah. So that it's essentially like that.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I
For us,
honestly
the
would,
suite gets fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
the balconies would be bigger, the suite would be bigger, I think that makes a lot more,
yeah,
and it's like a nose job
Yeah.
that's been like botched, seriously, that, I'm just telling you, that was this elegant, and it just seems like it's out of place with the rest of the silhouette of the building.
yeah. It's,
I think
it was either
it
needs to be
becomes
built as
fantastic,
is.
but
I think the most important thing is to keep the line of the balconies.
The
Yeah.
same as in 2019.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I agree that the ceiling height needs to be comfortable and welcoming. And also I like that, you know, the floor slabs, they also need to be thin, if, you know, that's the design. And it's a shame that you had this pretty, you know, you had this one very pretty detail in this corner and, you know, for structural reasons, we lost it.
Here's,
But I
here's a
don't know.
question, if that is done on this southeast corner, the other corner where there's also a dimple with a pole on, which is the northwest facing the convention center, from a design perspective, do you all have a problem in keeping the northwest
I don't-
corner as it is?
So, you know, because of the particularity, I mean, this corner is very peculiar. It doesn't, it's not replicated on any other side of the building, so.
It's a
this-
focus point, it's
correct. And
faces.
so, this could probably happen just as, because it almost becomes part of the crown of the building, it almost becomes like part of the redesign that contains the roof line.
So Myra, you're saying is they should keep the dimple on the other tower?
Well, not, if, I'm asking from a design standpoint, do you need to keep that dimple there?
I
Can
mean,
you-
I would say the
You know.
building needs something.
Okay, so you're okay with having the dimple on the northwest corner and no dimple on the southeast corner or
So-
the southeast roof?
So the only thing is that I believe also the dimples were in the referendum,
I don't think so, no.
no?
No dimples on the referendum.
No.
So it was just on the original approval? Okay, in the
No,
order,
yeah,
okay.
So the
In the
board,
order.
the board, as part of the review now, can modify those
Okay.
design considerations.
yeah.
So can I ask one other question? So notwithstanding everything that's been said, on the southeast corner, the area we're talking about right now, is that column necessary? Like if you were to keep the design as you're showing here, what is that column doing? Except, is that necessary to hold up the roof line in that location? Because that's all it's doing, right?
It's
Correct.
structurally required.
Correct.
I think that, for me, it's the column that's the problem.
Right, so that's why, what I think the direction is to continue like you showed us, the exterior wall and the balcony angles all the way up through on the southeast corner.
But you can keep the column
Yeah, the
that
column-
you
Yeah,
need
it's
for
gonna be
structural
behind.
purposes, but it won't be as visible
It's
because
gonna be
it'll be
behind.
It's gonna be
way
behind the
into
glass
balcony.
line,
Behind the
correct.
glass.
What I think, to be honest with you, would really make a statement with this building is if, so you're eliminating this corner detail, and what if that wall, so the south wall, was angled a little bit steeper? And then you really have some sort of statement. So again, you might lose some square footage, but it would really be very interesting, especially if you're coming up and down 17th Street, you know,
We are already at the limit in terms of slanting of the columns.
right, I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, you'd have to make the choice to sacrifice a little bit of square footage for the sake of a much better design. I will also say, I find it interesting that this client, you know, the tenant, you know, you've seen firsthand how great architecture really makes a hotel a destination for people. So, I mean, again, I don't know what the money, you know, I'm not I have nothing to do with the investment of anything, but if you really wanted to make a nice statement for the residents of Miami Beach
In the southeast corner.
on the southeast corner, that's something that would be really nice, because again, it's a sort of an understated statement, it's an understated element, but I think it would have a big impact. And I think that's maybe the intent of angling the wall to begin with. You know, it goes back to, this is a design that clearly is about more subtle details as opposed to something very, very bold. And so, you know, that's just my opinion. I mean, throwing it out there, because I think it would be really.
Is that possible?
We already at the limit for a slanting on the column, I think it's 8.5 something degrees, so I mean, at this point, it's,
Yeah.
we would have to, at a certain point, we did have, just so you know, at a certain point, we did have, kind of like more economic solutions in which we had double columns, but actually the client graciously, went ahead with this like slanted design in which, yeah, I mean, because it is an added, right? So that follows the glazing line, and what you don't see is that also in this, all the coordination that happened between when the column slants and the slab, and we have bathrooms partitions because somebody, so there's been a lot that went into that was between us, the interior designer, the structural engineer, but I can tell you that in terms of the slanting, we're at the limit of the slanting. So we would have to possibly double column I mean,
What is the angle of that? You don't know?
Yeah, what is the slanting?
so
at this
we,
time?
we grow 8 inches at each slab,
Okay,
8 inches each slab. So it's 8 times.
so when you
12.
compare the top, when you're looking at it, standing on Washington Avenue and you're looking towards that corner, you don't see the difference from one floor to another, but when you look at it holistically,
There's
you
a-
do see that there's a
Yeah.
transition of slanting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, so these columns are all slanted, and what happened is that because of the force, so when it comes down, if you look at the construction documents, this was a feat. Because then, of course, we have the welcome center, so,
No, I realize too, I'm making this at the 1 yard line to use. So, I just, you get excited, and again, I think everybody here we wanna create, beautiful structures, and so, I get it, I understand.
I make a motion.
Well, do you, okay, what would be
So I guess
what did we?
the motion I would think would be to eliminate the quote dimple in that southeast corner and continue the silhouette of the building from the bottom to the top without a indention of balconies on that corner. So that just extend the balconies so that it would be a linear silhouette all the way up.
And so you had mentioned at one point continuing, the windows to make it look, maybe were you saying to put false windows? Right there? Maybe that was.
Not me.
Okay, so basically, everybody is okay with the new roof line and the screening and how it's been.
That's where I had said last meeting, if you could make the roof line have false windows so that it looked more like just another story versus a big concrete pad
Block,
on top.
band,
I
a
don't
concrete
know if that's
band.
even possible.
But you seem to have a different material on that rooftop band, I'll
Oh,
call it.
yeah, what is
Is
do you have a
that-
picture of what that's gonna be?
no, so that's gonna be, it's gonna be a tall concrete structure,
Stucco.
and then, it's going to be stucco. We're gonna,
It's solid.
yes, it's gonna be, well, what we usually do is that we continue as it reveals the glazing line below. We had it, and I actually asked Sarah to remove it because it looked very busy on the rendering, it's very far away, but we have those, basically we have the same pattern, just continues on the building.
What would be the extent to glaze it? Is that a big deal? Or could you glaze it to make it look like another story?
Well, so we have mechanical equipment in the back, and also what happened in other projects when we did attempt to do that. And you see, it looks, from the street, it looks kind of ugly. It just happened on our building, almost looks like something is missing because you do see, even when it's Pandro, you do see the transparency of the sky.
That's why I
Yeah.
asked,
Yeah,
because
so
hear
we
you.
tried that on
Yeah.
some projects in Miami.
yeah,
It wasn't a great.
no,
Yeah,
that's
it
why I'm
wasn't great.
asking.
And does the wall start at the edge of the building, or is it
No,
recessed
it
a bit?
starts at the edge of the building. We really continue in the building.
Okay, it continues
We
up,
really continue in the building, yes.
so it's really like a.
And you all feel that stucco, is the way to go with that rooftop band?
Well, that is the language of the building. If you, I'm sorry. The whole building is stucco, glazing. So we don't have any other material. It's
Okay.
actually pretty consistent with the rest of the building.
With the rest?
Is
Yeah.
it-
There's continuity.
There's
Is it,
continuity.
you not glaze like on top of stucco so that you don't get light through it is that a thing or not?
But then so glaze on top of stucco, they were required to have a slab, so we have to enclose, so those outside air unit on the roof, they need to be outside.
Right,
They need to be outside.
so there's no like, I'm not an architect and I'm not a engineer, so there's no like a wall with glass on the outside of it that you can leave the top open?
A wall with.
Like a wall of stucco or whatever with glass just put on top of it and sealed to the top.
So a
water
standard
doesn't-
condition with a, yeah, with a.
Yeah, is that a thing or is that crazy?
It's a thing,
Uh-huh,
it could happen, so again, we do the spandrels all the time. We do that just when it's strictly necessary, really to hide ugly equipment, whatever, that is not possible. For example, we have, we have like a fire command room that has a lot of equipment, so we put spandrels so that you don't see behind, but usually we don't do that on the roof.
I've been seeing buildings go up and I'm seeing a total neglect of the equipment on the roof and it's looked really awful. And this building is so sleek, and to see something heavy or to see that, like, I'm just trying to, you're so close. I think we're so close and I really appreciate what you've done so far. I think that,
Well, let me ask you a question. So can you bring up, page 10 of the presentation? Because I think what you're trying to say is that there's an expanse of stucco on the side of the building by the tower. Is that what you're gonna reproduce along the top, like this?
Yeah.
I went too fast?
It's on page 10. Oh, no.
Yes.
Let me try.
Okay, try to find it before I go.
Yeah, it's a detail on the north tower. And I guess it's just gray stucco, like along the
It is,
side
yes,
of
it
the,
is.
and that's exactly what you're gonna
Yeah.
put along the top
Correct.
too, right? Oh, wait, go
No,
back.
you.
Well,
you
there, I
passed
mean-
it. No,
We'll go back. There.
Okay, there, that.
So that vertical, the sort of thicker, it's gonna be the same material color, everything is what you're putting on the top.
Correct.
I mean,
It's consistent with the language of the
it's
rest of the.
consistent. I think that, yeah, I mean, the continued discussion here is that, the intent of the original approved and what, based on all of the structural, what we're now getting, I find to be different, but, I think that it is what it is.
So do you want to take a stab at the?
okay, so I would like to approve with the condition that the dimple on the southeast corner be removed and that the glazing be stuck in line with the rest of the building so that it looks consistent and just creates a sleek, consistent silhouette to the top corner of the building.
Does that
To be
work
reviewed
for
by
you?
staff, yeah.
Does that work for you, Michael?
Yeah, that